Hey there, in this video I made a steampunk airship out of cardboard and some old toys. It came out really nice, I'm very happy with it. I'll leave a link for the building of the ship in the comment section for you so you can check out Do It Yourself channel. He makes some amazing cardboard builds. I wish I had seen his work sooner, but I chose a really basic structure, so it was nice and easy for me seeing as I never measure anything. I hope you get something out of this because I got quite a bit from it. I've made some things that I haven't made before. They were very basic, but I will use these techniques in the future. So I do hope you get something from this, and I hope you enjoy the video. I started this build out with these plastic leftover pieces from a Transformer toy that I'd pulled apart for my last build. I thought they really looked like parts of a ship, the stern and the bow, and this bit in the middle. I'm not sure. It just seemed like a fantasy style sort of ship, which is going to be steampunk. And that piece there that I'm going to put on the bow, it just seemed like it would really work. And I put them together this way and sort of made them a little higher as it went up along what would be the body of the ship, so I could get a feel of how it would look and if it would work. I cut a semicircle roughly for the size of the hull that I wanted. I didn't measure anything. I just used this lid off a candle and drew around it and then cut it in half. The ship turned out a bit longer than I would have liked and maybe a little bigger than I'd have liked, but that's what happens when you don't measure anything. I just roughly cut it in half, and then one was a little bigger than the other, so I made a template of the piece that I wanted, and then I just cut two more. So I had three pieces for the stern, the bow, and just the centre for some support inside the ship. I will leave a link for the making of this ship from the video that I took it from, because he makes fantastic cardboard ships. I used the corrugations to run along as though they'd be wooden planks, so make sure you're mindful when you do that. And then I just used the semicircle to measure out, well, to guide me to where I wanted to make a mark so I could cut out the size of the actual hull itself. I don't know how to measure anything to save my life. I can't do it, so I just eyeball and guess everything. Even when following someone else's video, I can't use their measurements. It's like a foreign language to me. Make sure your corrugations are running along the length of the ship so you can curve it like this. I couldn't show it under the camera, but I just took it to my kitchen bench and gently rolled it across so I could curve it like that, and then hot glued the pieces in. The next part that I did was putting the nose on the ship. I didn't show it because it was fiddly. But as I said, the link that I'll put for it, the guy will show you how he did it, which was much better than I could ever show you. And of course, I'm cutting this with the corrugations going down the length of the ship again, so I can make it look like wooden boards. I just rule down, roughly between each corrugation so I can utilise the little valley in between each one. And I just draw little lines across evenly to make it look like wooden boards. Glue it down. It's quite crudely done. It's not the best cardboard that I could have used, but oh well. And just these very basic pieces. I eyeballed them as well. I just guesstimated the size of them. I found it a little bit difficult because I didn't use measurements, but they look good. And I just put these in here to make them sturdy so they wouldn't be wonking around everywhere while I was trying to put it all together. Another piece, it's the width of the deck, and just slide it in on top of the bit on the bottom. It's really basic. It looks complicated when you're watching it, but it's a lot more basic when you're actually doing it. I like the way it sort of goes up in tiers. That guy that did the videos with the ships, he's got so many. I didn't even realise he had so many different ships that he did. I wish I'd chosen something maybe a little shorter in the body, but this is very basic, which I need to have because I do find measuring difficult. Now I just run the pencil up very crudely to make more boards in the body of the ship. You've got to find the happy place when you're applying pressure. It has to be hard enough to make an impression, but not so hard that you actually go through and make holes in your cardboard. Give it all a nice spray just to seal it and make it dark. And then I just put this very flat brown paint on. I had a fair bit of trial and error with this because I've never made a ship before. And also being a fantasy build, I wanted it to be realistic but also, beautiful at the same time. I didn't like the brown, so I thought I would sort of make it look a little richer on the deck and just added more of it's just more of a golden sort of reddish brown. I mean, it's not greatly coloured, but in comparison to that ugly brown that I used, it looks really nice. I didn't bother getting right into the corners because it looks a little bit like a grimy shadow, which is good. You can see it looks so much more like wood just from doing that, and you can see that little bit of shine in it too that makes it look like lacquered wood, which is also really good. I didn't like the comparison of the body to the deck still, so I thought I would make the body of the ship black. It's a flat black. I don't think I would go with the gloss. It would probably be too much. Nice and smooth to make sure there's no brush strokes. And it just makes it look much, much better. Plus, the darker something is, the less mistakes you're going to see in it. The faux wooden boards weren't quite enough. I didn't like the way they were, so I thought I would alter them with a brown soft pencil and just run over them to make it look like there's just grain in wood, which is a nice quick little illusion. Works very well. It also took a little bit of that shine off, which is also a good thing. Some very quick, easy detail that's quite effective. I really enjoy it. And you can see the massive difference between the one that's been done with the pencil and the one that hasn't been altered at all. Very good. I'm just doing some trim around the body with some zip ties or cable ties. I just put a black coat of primer over them so I could paint on them. And this is basically to just cover up all the gaps and the glue and... Yeah, I probably should have used a cardboard that wasn't quite so... I don't know, it was a little bit soft. So the edges have not come out clean, and now I need to do a lot of covering. But I want this to be, gold anyway. And now I'm going to do these pieces and paint them up so I can really start seeing how the piece is going to look to make sure it's going to work. I'm going to give them a good coat of the black primer. These wings, they were on some weird doll I found at a charity store. I just ripped the wings off it because I thought they'd be very handy on an airship, though I didn't really utilise them as wings, but they're a really nice detail anyway. And now I can play with the skeleton of the work and get a real feel for it. I spend a lot of time moving pieces around when I'm building something so I can make sure that I know it's going to work. Because if you just go willy-nilly gluing stuff down, you find your work can become very sort of Frankenstein's monster. So you've got to be mindful of what you're doing. These are the wings. I kind of was going to put them out the side, but I knew they'd look a bit weird, so I thought I'd just add them, some aerodynamic detail. They look nice, so they're very, very detailed, and I didn't have to make the detail, which is always nice. I made quite a lot of pieces for this that I didn't end up using because I realised I was going to get to the point of overkill. Sometimes you have to make sure you pull back when it comes to detail. It's so easy to sit there and just keep adding and adding to work until you realise you've you've overdone it. But this is something to play with, and I can move it all around and finally decide what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint everything up. I put it sort of a dark, sort of I don't know, it's like a reddish brown sort of, metallic colour. And then I put gold on top because I wanted the dark underneath to come back up through. I didn't want to just make everything flat out gold. It would have looked really strange. That way I do it like this, and it sort of comes out more like a golden sort of polished bronze. Because gold on its own can be very, very stark. And also it reflects the light, which is not very good when you're viewing it or photographing or filming your own work. These little wooden rounds I thought they were really good for making cogs for the work. And a little door I cut out of a big popsicle stick with holes in it, just to make a little tiny door, which I ended up altering later, and this little door frame around it. I thought it looked good at the time. I don't know, it looked strange when I'd finished it, so I altered it later. I just put a little bit of dark paint down and made it red. It's a very easy way to make a little door with a little hole in it, though. Even this gold on this is just too stark. But I thought I'd put this in. As you can see there, I've put the door on, and there was no point in even cutting the hole out, to be honest. I was just kind of making it up as I went. But it's a good learning curve. All the cogs that I had assembled, I just layer them up and hope for the best. I tried to make sort of different colours with them and, just make them look more interesting and deeper. Because they come singularly and they look really kind of empty on their own, but when you layer them up, these wooden ones, you can paint them in a metallic colour, put the little ones on top as they go and just step them up. They look good. They're a really nice detail. Plenty of those to put on. Those look beautiful when there's just the gold ones stuck together. And these little coins, I just got a bag of these little coins and I painted gold on the other side. I'm going to make them look like portholes, really, and just more ornamentation. These big wooden ones I made for detail that I ended up not using later on because, again, I realised I was to the point of overkill. But doing this, it made me realise I could probably use things like that to make a nice paddle steamer or something like that. But I did a lot of playing around with this build. I enjoyed it very much just for that fact. But you can see all the possibilities you can have with just these wooden and metal little cogs. More than just, attaching them to make them look like clockwork. I got some beads because I wanted to make the stern higher, the ornamentation on the stern higher. It just wasn't high enough. And this is the centerpiece that I put on. It almost looks like, communications or weaponry or, it's your imagination that does the work. And the piece for the bow, which makes it look a bit like a warship. I wish I'd had some guns to put on this, but I didn't have anything. But it looks really good. I like it. And the wings, I just covered up that hole where I'd pulled it off the doll and put a cog on top of each one. When I glued it down, I made sure I angled it so I'd also cover up anything that was built poorly at the back and not covered with trim. You see all these pieces here, a lot of this stuff I didn't use. I, sprayed it and painted it up and thought I would use it. But I spent a lot of time procrastinating. I thought I'd show you my desk because this is how I work. I work from big to small or fragile. So I put the smaller pieces and the fragile pieces on a build last. You get to see your work come together more cohesively if you build the large pieces first and then play around with the smaller pieces and put them on, take them off, put them on, take them off, move them around. It will help a lot. I trimmed up some more of the ship just with some slivered up coffee stirrers that were painted gold just to tidy it up a little more. So I'm covering this ugly glue. I probably shouldn't have used hot glue, but I would have been there for a month trying to put it together with wood glue. Every little thing you do to tidy your work makes it just that much better. It's worth the effort. I made these terrific little ladders. I absolutely love them. They're so nice and tidy and super easy. I just bought a plastic tray for a couple of dollars and cut a panel out of it. I went to the shops looking for something like this, and this is what I found, and it worked out beautifully. The size is just ideal. And I just cut a ladder from that. It's just the quickest, easiest thing you could do when it comes to making a ladder, and it's such a small scale too. This is one of the things that was worth just doing the build alone for me to come to this and find to use something like this. It's wonderful. You can sand the side and tidy it up if you like. Depends how carefully you cut it. I did it a bit roughly under the camera, but you can see, you just give it a prime, put whatever colour you want on it, and you've got yourself a very quick ladder. I made many ladders for this because they were just so easy to make, and you put them on and it just really brings the build to life, because it's such a perfectly made detail, because it was created that way in the factory. It's just really nice and tidy. I find that very tidy details can often make up for sloppy mistakes. These beads that I only had 2 of them. I played with them for a few days, not knowing what I should do. I sort of placed them here and there, and I thought, looks a bit strange and doesn't make sense. So I wanted to use this piece to put on top of the battery pack, or the empty pack that I had covered with a black bit of plastic. So I thought I'd make it into this with just some cogs on it, and it looks good. And the beads, I just put them by the ladders because I thought they looked like really large vessels, and they worked. They looked right, so I went with that. And I just put this piece down in here, and that covered that black void where I'd covered where the batteries had been underneath it. And this piece I put in the back. I was going to put it up higher. I wasn't sure. I was now starting to get to the point of overkill, knowing a lot of detail was going to start looking weird. Every bit was starting to really look much more than it would normally. This looks good, though. It's kind of hidden. You'd have to crane your head around to have a look at it. This is the head of a razor I found on the side of the road. I found the shape interesting and picked it up and realised what it was. I'll put some super glue in the back of that just to seal it off so air does not make it rust over time. It just looks like a control panel. I like it. It's different. You can't really tell what it is by looking at it unless you're told what it is. But it's good. And the door, I stuck a cog on it because it just looked strange and clunky, and I don't know, it didn't work. Just put the little coins on. They could have almost passed for little cannons as well, or cannon holes, or I don't know the anatomy of a ship. I'm kind of guessing this as I go. These cogs are just to put around the wings. They looked a little, I don't know, strange, sort of stuck on there like that. They didn't seem to be part of anything, so I gave some connectivity by putting these around them, just to kind of marry everything together. I made some railings that I was very excited about. These are the best thing I think I've ever made. I was so happy. Just this garden mesh that you put in the bottom of pots. And it just hit me in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh gosh, I know what I can use. And I cut them up, and I realised that the size was just perfect, and they're flexible because I needed something to go around the bow. I'd been racking my brain for nearly 2 weeks over this, and realised I could curve this as well just to go around the angle. It's quite strong and sturdy too once you've put this on. Geez, I was happy with this. It just looks so good. The dimensions are just right. It was so quick and easy, and I could put it everywhere, like the ladders. And it really does look like railings on a ship as well, which is really fantastic. I absolutely love this. I was so happy. This was the part that I couldn't fathom, trying to think, how am I going to make a railing go all the way around? And oh, look at that. It's just a dream come true when you're doing a build and you come up with something like this. Over the moon about it. It looks fantastic. These railings pulled the ship together. I knew they would, and that's why I was spending so long procrastinating, trying to come up with something that would look really, really good and not be difficult and not come off clunky. It had to look a little refined, and this plastic stuff did it. I attached some more cogs just to make things look a little more complicated. And I made a base out of this ugly sign that I got for 50 cents at a charity store. I marked some holes out and I just drilled into it to put in these little legs that I made. I used a cat toy that I bought because I wanted perspex legs, but I couldn't get any, or acrylic, acrylic rods, couldn't get any. And I thought this would be close enough. So I pulled the glittery thing out of it and cut it into 4 equal lengths. And then I was able to chop it down to the height that I wanted. These were just too long like this. I gave it a test at that height and it looked very odd. And I'm just going to sand an angle onto each one so it angles inwardly to the hull of the ship. Got to get the bits of plastic out of that and clean them up when they're done. They're not perfect. They're not completely, see-through, but they're not bad, and they're actually really strong. The wand was very flexible before I cut it down to this length, but it's super strong now. I gave the underside of the sign a coat of brown paint, and it looked horrible because it was just wrong. So I got some black and brushed it on, and it kind of gives it a little bit of a look of wood instead of the chipboard that it was. I'd love to have had a nice piece of mahogany or something to put the ship on, but I didn't, so I used what I could. And I angle these legs with the little piece that I filed down inward. These are so snug, I'm not even going to glue them in. I thought perhaps golden legs would look nice too, possibly. If you don't have something like this, you could use the, golden dowel or something. I angle them inwards so I can accommodate the shape of the hull like that, so the curve will sit in so it won't fall over or wobble around. And this is the moment of truth. It sits down very tidily on that. It's great because it was just wobbling side to side until I made it. So that's a nice, quick, easy base. And these are all the bits that I did not use. I mean, I really liked a lot of these. I thought they were really good. But they were just too much, way too much. It was becoming over the top, and I could have sat there for a month attaching stuff to this because it was so much fun. But I had to pull back and stop. You can see, I could have put these just about anywhere. But see, that gold is too much as well. And yeah, I always make more than I need for a build, but it's nice to play around with it and make sure it comes out just the way you want it. And this is it finished. I'm very, very happy with it. I'd like to build another ship sometime in the future because this was a first time for me, but there's a lot to learn, and I did learn a lot through it. I enjoyed it, and it came out nice. It is a little bit too long, but that's just me, I guess. But the details that I didn't have to make from these toys were fantastic as well. I really like that as well. Yeah, I do hope you like it too, and I hope to see you next time.